Welcome to Grand Prix, your go-to channel for the fastest updates in Formula One. We've got 3 hot stories for you, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay ahead of the pack. Let's get started. Ferrari faces a decisive moment this Wednesday at Mugello as the Italian team finally puts its highly anticipated new rear suspension for the SF25 to the test on track. After weeks of intense development and countless hours of simulation, the team is eager to validate what has so far been described as very promising results. According to Motorsport Italia, the simulations with the updated suspension showed significant performance gains, particularly in stability and tire management, 2 of the SF25's most criticized weaknesses this season. The initial data suggests the potential for a lap time improvement of approximately 0.1 seconds per lap. While that may sound modest, in the ultra-competitive world of Formula One, it could be the difference between challenging for podiums or settling for the midfield. The upgrade is entirely mechanical rather than aerodynamic, meaning the focus has been on improving how the car handles under braking, through mid-corner transitions, and in acceleration zones. Ferrari's engineers believe this new suspension design will give drivers Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton a more consistent and predictable platform to extract performance, especially in longer stints where tire degradation has plagued the team all season. This Wednesday's test involves completing 200 kilometers with the upgraded setup. Both Leclerc and Hamilton are slated to drive the SF25 to provide feedback from their differing styles. Leclerc's aggressive turn-in and Hamilton's preference for a stable rear under traction will offer Ferrari a comprehensive assessment of how the update performs under race-like conditions. If the results live up to the expectations set by the simulations, Ferrari plans to debut the new rear suspension as early as the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. This timing would give them a crucial weapon in the fight against Mclaren, Mercedes, and a still dangerous Red Bull in the second half of the season. Moreover, the team sees this development as more than just a stopgap for 2025. With the sweeping regulation changes coming in 2026, including the introduction of Ferrari's new power unit and updated chassis rules, the insights gained from this suspension design could inform their next-generation car. Essentially, this isn't just about clawing back time now. It's about laying the groundwork for Ferrari's future competitiveness. However, Ferrari's rivals are not standing still. McLaren continues to impress with its rapid in-season development. Red Bull, despite a rough patch, remains a threat with Verstappen's brilliance, and Mercedes seems to have found stability with its updated concept. For Ferrari, delivering on this rear suspension upgrade is crucial if they want to avoid becoming the 4th best team in what has evolved into a fierce 4-way battle. The stakes are clear. Success at Mugello could put Ferrari back in the conversation for race wins and potentially shift the momentum in a season that has, so far, offered flashes of brilliance but lacked consistency. Failure, however, might force the team to divert its focus entirely to 2026 even earlier than planned. So what do you think? Will Ferrari's new suspension deliver the breakthrough they need to challenge for victories more consistently? Or is it too late for Maranello to claw its way back into the fight this year? Could this be the first step toward a true resurgence, or just another missed opportunity? Per Gunter AO ChatGPT, Adrian Newey has raised a serious alarm bell within Aston Martin as the team faces mounting pressure over delays in developing their 2026 Formula One challenger. Since joining the British outfit in March this year, the most celebrated designer in F1 history has been entirely focused on their next-generation car. But there's a catch. While rival teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and McLaren started work on their 2026 projects as early as January, Aston Martin chose to hold back, waiting for Newey's arrival to avoid wasting resources on concepts that might later be discarded. This strategy of delay was logical on paper. Better to have the guidance of a mastermind like Newey from the outset than risk designing a car he might later have to overhaul. But now, with the clock ticking towards 2026 and a radical new technical regulation set to reshape F1, Aston Martin finds itself on the back foot. Speaking in a rare interview, Newey admitted that the team is playing catch-up, but insisted he's pouring his trademark intensity into the project. Once I enter this mode of total focus, nothing else matters except building a car capable of winning, Newey said. The 65-year-old engineer explained that the current phase of development is critical because it involves structural elements that cannot be modified once the season begins. These include the suspension layout, the fuel tank packaging, and the wheelbase, all foundational elements of the chassis that will define the car's performance envelope. Adding to the challenge are the limitations of Aston Martin's simulation tools. Unlike teams with years of experience maximizing cutting-edge CFD, computational fluid dynamics, and wind tunnel resources under budget cap constraints, Aston Martin is still refining its processes. Newey's presence brings a level of expertise and vision, but there's no shortcut for time lost. And there's another factor adding complexity: the 2026 regulations themselves. While the power unit rules are dramatically changing, with increased electrical output and fuel flow limitations, the chassis regulations leave little room for game-changing innovations. However, Newey believes there's still room to explore the technical margins creatively. The first generation of cars under these rules will look and behave quite differently, he noted. But as always in F1, the grid tends to converge after a few years. Despite the late start and the technological challenges, there's optimism within Aston Martin. Team principal Mclaren has repeatedly said that signing Newey was about the long game, not just 2026. Yet the weight of expectation is immense. Fans and insiders alike expect that with Newey's track record, 9 constructors' titles and 12 drivers' championships, Aston Martin should quickly transform into a race-winning outfit. But can they deliver? The task is monumental. Catching teams like Red Bull and Mercedes, who are already deep into their 2026 development programs, while also managing a competitive car for the remainder of 2025. It's a balancing act that has derailed even bigger teams in the past. So what do you think? Can Adrian Newey's brilliance overcome Aston Martin's delayed start and put them in the fight for wins and titles as soon as 2026? Or will the late beginning and steep learning curve mean fans have to wait a little longer before seeing Aston Martin as a genuine championship contender? Drop your thoughts below. Do you believe in the Newey effect or not? The future of Max Verstappen at Red Bull continues to spark heated debates and bold statements across the Formula One paddock. This time, Zak Brown, CEO of Mclaren, has added fuel to the fire by claiming that if Verstappen were to leave Red Bull, the team could find itself falling behind even its junior squad, the Racing Bulls. Before diving in, what's your take? Do you agree with Zak Brown that Red Bull without Verstappen would face a major crisis? Or do you think Brown's comment is an overstatement to stir the pot? According to Brown, Verstappen is single-handedly keeping Red Bull afloat in 2025. To put that into perspective, Verstappen has scored 165 of the team's 172 points so far this season. That's a staggering 96% of Red Bull's total haul. Even Yuki Tsunoda, Verstappen's current teammate, admitted there's some truth to Brown's statement, conceding that based on Red Bull's current car performance, they could indeed lag behind the Racing Bulls without Verstappen's brilliance behind the wheel. The team's struggles to secure a second driver capable of matching Verstappen's level have been evident for years. Sergio Perez failed to deliver consistent results in his final seasons. Liam Lawson had an underwhelming stint earlier this year before being replaced, and now Tsunoda himself has only scored 7 points in 10 races since his promotion. Tsunoda admitted he's still adapting to the RB21's driving characteristics, but was quick to praise the Racing Bulls' performance, even suggesting he might have scored more points had he remained with the sister team. On the other hand, Liam Lawson, currently driving for the Racing Bulls, disagreed sharply with Brown's assessment. "It's easy to criticize from the outside," Lawson said. "People who aren't directly involved don't really understand what's happening within Red Bull. The situation isn't as black and white as Zak makes it sound." Still, Brown's comments highlight an uncomfortable truth for Red Bull. Verstappen's sheer dominance is masking a potential structural weakness within the team. With key technical figures like Adrian Newey having already left or considering exits, and internal turbulence following Christian Horner's dismissal, the pressure on Red Bull to secure its future is enormous. If Verstappen does leave, potentially for Mercedes in 2026, it's not just the driver's points they'd lose. It's his feedback, consistency, and the psychological edge he brings that could leave a void too large to fill in the short term. So here's the big question. Do you think Zak Brown is right? Without Max Verstappen, Would Red Bull collapse to the level of a midfield team, or even behind Racing Bulls? Or is this just typical F1 mind games, with Brown trying to unsettle a rival in a delicate moment? Share your thoughts below. Does Red Bull's future depend entirely on Verstappen?